Greetings. Today we continue our study in the book of Daniel. Today we take up chapter number 10. We're going to look at verses 1 through 3 in this first section, and it will involve a little bit of review from chapter 9. And if you have not studied those three messages on chapter 9, we encourage you to go back and do so. Daniel 9:23, Gabriel tells Daniel that he's a man of great passion, which is one of 4 times that commendation appears in this book for Daniel. We stated that Daniel's passion concerned learning the truth and then doing the truth in his life. I simply cannot state that the book of Daniel demonstrates enough that Daniel had a lifelong love of the truth of God's Word. It begins as a very young man as we're introduced to him in chapter number 1, and is clearly in view in every chapter until the end of chapter 12, where Daniel is told that he will die before all these things have been fulfilled, but yet he will be included in the end after the resurrection that's revealed there in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 13. In Daniel chapter 7 and verse 16, it says, I came near unto them that stood by and asked him of the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. In the previous verse, we find the motivation for this. It says, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. We studied how Daniel's passion for truth was seen in Daniel chapter 9, verses 1 through 15. We talked about yada meaning praise and how that's been perverted today. We talked about how that if we turn from truth that's contained in the scriptures, then we by necessity and definition have turned ourselves unto fables. We also considered that Daniel's pursuit of the truth was seen in Daniel chapter 9, verses 15 through 21. And there is a correlation that we need to understand for our lives also. Daniel's passion for truth led him to study God's Word. In this case, a specific passage from the book of that Jeremiah had been inspired to write. And Daniel's pursuit of truth then led him to pray for illumination and understanding. When he does this, Daniel is asking God to simply do exactly what he had confessed in the 6th verse of Daniel 9, that his people had not done for God. That is, listen to him and his request and do them. Again, it's ironic the trouble had arisen because God's people were not listening and doing what God said. We also fail to listen and do what God says, and yet we, like apparently the children of Israel of that day, expect him to listen to us and do what we ask of him. I tell you, we live in a generation of manipulators, and it gets worse in every generation. They believe that they can do whatever they desire and then manipulate, even God, into allowing them to get by with no consequence for those actions whatsoever. And finally, we looked at Daniel's perception of truth in Daniel 9:22 through 27. We talked about how that we might propose a t-shirt that said it's a Jewish thing you wouldn't understand. Daniel 9 verse 24, we said, declared 7 infinitives which express God's purpose that he will fulfill in the 70 years spoken of by Jeremiah, and that Daniel was further inquiring about. It's clear that it's a Jewish thing that involves Daniel's people and God's holy city, Jerusalem. And 2 important facts about these 7 infinitives which express God's purpose is that he will fulfill these in the 70 years spoken of, the 70 weeks of years, spoken of by Jeremiah and further inquired of by Daniel. One is it will take all of the 70 weeks, which are divided into 7 plus 62 plus 1, to fulfill all of God's purposes. And it's concerning God's people, the Jewish people and their holy city. And it will take all 70 weeks of Daniel's prophecy to fulfill all 7 of these prophecies, which is a very important fact of biblical prophecy, because some of the events in the book of Revelation are the clarification and the declared fulfillment of some of these things mentioned here in relation to the 70th week of Daniel's prophecy. And one has to ignore this plain and landmark fact to apply anything to do with the 70th week with the church. So we come to Daniel 10 in verse 1, and it states that it is the 3rd year of Cyrus, who was a co-regent of Darius. It would appear, as we correlate secular history and the length of kingdoms, that Daniel is now 84 years of age. Daniel 10:1 says, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh or wine into my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled.